May I have your attention? We're going to pause now for the invocation, the prayer. Would you join me in a word of prayer? I'm Pastor Jeff Mitchell of the Tabitha Church here in Oklahoma City. Let us pray. Gracious God, our King and our Lord, we come humbly before your presence with a spirit of thanksgiving, with a spirit of love and a spirit of just joy for what you have done through this wonderful organization. We pray for this gathering that even the things that are done today will be pleasing in your sight. We pray for the strength of the volunteers and those who work so hard to make a difference in our community. Thank you so much for all of our sponsors and those who are friends and who share. Thank you, Father, for us having the mindset to help others outside of our own selves. We're so grateful for this wonderful day. We pray your blessings over all that shall take place today, to the end that you would be glorified even in our efforts. In the wonderful name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Thank you. What a beautiful prayer. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess it's still morning. I am so glad to see your faces. And please go ahead and finish your lunch, but we want to get started with this great program. My name is Jane Giroux Gamble, and it is a pleasure to serve as your MC today. Now, actually, I can't say I was thrilled about doing it, but I want to say that there are two reasons that I'm here today. I can't say no. Some of you know the musical Oklahoma. And I can't say no because my friends are involved with today. Janine Pointer, Karen Waddell, so many of the sponsors, so many of you I know and just admire and respect so much. But the main reason is the same reason you're here. The Lynn Institute is having a wonderful impact on our community and our state. And I really am privileged to be a part of this program. So welcome to the Lynn Institute Legacy Luncheon. Today you're going to hear about the Lynn Institute's programs, partnerships, and outreach in some of the most under-resourced and vulnerable neighborhoods around Oklahoma City. We're also honored to have Dr. Chan Hellman here to share his personal journey of hope. You're going to love that. And we'll be honoring this year's Lynn Legacy and Community Champion Award recipients. Now, before we begin, please take a look at your program. You'll see a listing of individuals and organizations who have provided the financial support to host the event today. And of course, as you know, we simply could not have today's luncheon without their support. We want to recognize our sponsors at this time. The legacy sponsor is Mo Anderson, the generous Mo Anderson. Let's yay! The champion sponsors, Nancy Payne Ellis, Flogistics, Dr. and Mrs. Robert Foreman, Barbara Green, and Karen Vineyard Waddell. Let's hear it for the champion sponsors. Our benefactor sponsors include Ardmore Institute of Health, Arnall Family Foundation, and NBC Bank. Would you join me in thanking each of those as well? Thank you for your gratitude. Also, take a chance to look at the ambassador and friend sponsors as well as our supporters. Each and every one of them have made a difference today. Now to get us started, please welcome President and CEO of the Lynn Institute, Steve Petty. Excuse me, Steve, I'm so sorry.
I get that all the time. They keep calling me Steve Perry. So thank you, everyone, and welcome. And I echo what Jane has said, and we really appreciate it. We could not do this without all of you. So thanks to all of our friends and sponsors. Thank you for making this day special. I'd also like to recognize our board members. If you could just raise your hand. We have a very active and supportive board, and we really appreciate all of them. And all of our community partners and everybody that makes a difference and help us make a difference. You know, we want to talk about emphasizing what we do here at the Lynn Institute and the commitment to our mission, which is to create and sustain healthy, hopeful communities across Oklahoma. Our work is backed by an extensive research which was conducted in the areas we served. So in 2016, you may know, we published an extensive research summary on Northeast Oklahoma City, which became the foundation of our work and in the areas and the reasons for forming our collaborative. We had a lot of organizations committed to helping us, and we are looking to help change the disparities and the issues in that community. I'm pleased to share with you that we'll be releasing the 2021 update to that 2016 study very soon. It'll be an update, and we're really excited to be able to tell you about it. I also want to recognize Karen Waddell, our CEO Emeritus for the Lynn Institute, who is here today, and we'd like to thank her for her determination to pursue the original research back in 2016, and she conducted this in Northeast Oklahoma City. That's how we all began, and she put together this collaborative that is still meeting today, and we're so thankful. How many of you are part of the collaborative right now? Lots of you, and if you're not, we want you to sign up because we're doing great things. Anyway, I would like to recognize Karen. Thank you. She and the board are what made this happen, and I'm so thankful to be carrying on. We look forward to also pursuing the same type of research in South Oklahoma City, my stomping ground, U.S. Grand Generals, class of '82. So we are really hopeful that we can start doing that as well. The collaboration I mentioned, we couldn't do it without the collaboration. It's an important cornerstone of our work at the Lynn Institute, and we have the privilege of working with a very diverse group of like-minded organizations and individuals who are bringing their expertise, their resources, and their commitment to making a difference. Together, we're creating momentum around the programs and initiatives that we will really make a difference, and I think that's going to be for generations to come, so we appreciate it. I also want to talk about collaboration, and you're going to get to see some of our amazing partners who make it happen with this video, if you please watch.
You know what the Lynn Institute brings into working with the vulnerable populations in Northeast Oklahoma City are three things, I would say: facts, long-term commitment, and resources. Now with the facts, they assess the areas of need in the community because their research arm has verified the economic state and the high-risk health conditions of many of my neighbors. And then they have made a multiple-year commitment to find solutions to those factors that cause these conditions and help people get through them and hopefully out of them. And finally, resources. Once the Lynn Institute commits to addressing a particular need, they will find those resources somehow, and they work with the people inside the community to get those resources to those who need them.
Just the relationships that we have together can bring about the collaboration and the change that our community needs to get better. I mean, we knew that we were unhealthy, but we didn't know to the magnitude until the research was done. And now, so that puts it in perspective for us, and so that's helped us to focus on what is going on in our community, and so that the people can get better.
We have been a part of the Northeast Oklahoma City community for about 5 or 6 years. We wanted to see if, first of all, if the residents thought that a farmer's market located in Northeast Oklahoma City was something they wanted, and if so, if they would come to our facility there on Northeast 63rd Street. So we work with Lynn Institute, and they were very generous in providing their services. We were very professional in the research that they did, and they provided us with the feasibility study, which was very positive. So therefore, we're going to be able to open up a farmer's market in the spring of 2022.
Lynn Institute has not only done the research, but also they've done a lot of work with other agencies in the community to find out what the needs are.
The partnership between Lynn Institute and our church has been a great blessing for our community, opening doors that never would have been opened for us to serve that community.
When I joined the collaborative, I could see the true commitment of everybody at every luncheon. It's all about the team, it's all about the mission. I feel like whatever I say, I'm going to be heard.
The collaborative is just a great network of people in Northeast Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City in general that we can connect with and be able to better serve our students and families.
And it was important to me because I've lived Northeast Oklahoma City my whole life and I've watched it change. I wanted to be a part in making sure that it was always there and available for my children and grandchildren.
A lot of times people come and they do what they want to do, whatever their agenda is, and then they disappear. But the Lynn Institute has been a foundational piece in helping us reach our community, and so we're very grateful for that.
We've had the pleasure of partnering with Lynn Institute, and they approached us to be a part of their On the Road to Health. We provide a registered dietitian that can partner with their employees to be able to provide nutrition consults, and then we also do a lot of food demonstrations, so we really enjoyed that partnership.
I just really feel like the Lynn Institute is such a great way to pull different community groups, so all the resources get to be represented.
So Count Me In for Kids was all about the foster care crisis in our state. And really it was based upon the simple premise that if we had awareness of things that others were doing, and if we had a shared commitment that all partners, whether it be nonprofits, the private sector, or governmental agencies, could come together and work to find solutions. It's really simple, but it takes somebody to be in a leadership role to pull that together.
I would describe Lynn's work and characterize it as a loving community nonprofit, a nonprofit that just comes to support the community. So we are very excited for Lynn to come alongside us and be able to provide health screenings for our students and families in Northeast Oklahoma City.
I work with Lynn Institute to bring the mobile health screening unit and vision screening into the areas of Oklahoma City. I've been able to see a huge difference in the population that we serve.
I got involved with the food distribution because I felt like I could be a part of making things better. I was especially glad that the food is always healthy food.
When the Lynn Institute says, hey, we're going into an area that we know is underserved, we want to make sure that the same resources that are available to people that can afford it, that do have representation, we want to match that into those areas. And to me, that's the biggest draw.
I didn't know anything about Lynn until a friend from church told me. And so here were some good, solid facts on how I could better maintain my diabetes and live a healthier, more active life.
I found out about the class through my mother. She said you should try it, and it was really a wonderful experience. And I actually lost some weight from some of the recipes that I used.
There was a togetherness, and we looked forward to that time to share and get ideas. And I love the recipes because there was always something new.
I felt like it was my little family away from my family. Not that I ever get tired of my family. And I'm learning some things about how to control some things in my life and that I have control. I would like to see more expansion and growth of the program.
I'm very thankful for the way in which Lynn Institute has approached everything I've seen them involved in. They've asked for people that live that life to have some input, if not lead the initiative to help be a part of the change.
Our church has some land that was actually sitting dormant, and with the Lynn Institute, we're going to be having a pocket park.
This pocket park is going to serve to bring families and the community together. It'll be a place that has a stage. It'll have gardens for their people to even pick freely. It'll just be a place where people can come that's clean and beautiful and neat and slow down and just build family and community relationships. And so we're so excited to be trailblazers with Lynn in making this happen in this community.
When we partner with Lynn Institute, it brings so many resources to the table that then allow for us to have those same connections to be able to do more to service the people in this community. So we really love that.
And they really help us bring hope to our community by providing resources that really our community needs.
I'm excited that they are working on the science of hope. I love it that we're trying to give this to Oklahomans, to all people.
So now that we've learned these things, we can go forward and we can teach others as they're coming to the community center and they're talking about the barriers in their lives. Well, we can help identify those and help them find pathways to reach goals.
This fall, we're going to have a great opportunity to connect with the Lynn Institute to integrate the Science of Hope into our fall curriculum with our middle school students. So we're really looking forward to that opportunity.
With the Center of Social Innovation, we are focused on one thing, and that is mercy and second chances for individuals that are marginalized and individuals that never had the right ecosystems to be the right version of themselves. The Lynn Institute has been a vital piece of our success. We went through a series of workshops. We learned more about what is purpose and hopes and agencies and pathways. As of today, it is a core piece of the Center for Social Innovation's learning objectives. It's weaved into everything we do.
Lynn has really just been on the forefront of everything, trying to make sure that hope is infused in our community in terms of the hope curriculum and training our staff on it, training our mentors on it.
So I'm very excited because OBU is partnering with the Lynn Institute to foster and develop a hope initiative. So we become a hope center at our university for our faculty, employees, students. All of our community becomes centered in hope, to where we become those who can look beyond today to tomorrow and envision a better world together.
Knowledge empowers a person to give them hope, and that hope then generates possibilities.
I'm really proud to be a part of that and the whole collaboration, and that's what it's all about. And if you think about it, all of the funders that are in this room, all of you that have supported us in the past, I'd also like to recognize the Lynn's subsidiary, which is the Lynn Health Science Institute. If you guys would raise your hand. They're the ones that do all the COVID trials for the pharmaceutical companies. They're our subsidiary corporation. We love them. I'd also like to say with collaborations with people like Councilwoman Miss Nikki Nice and also Commissioner Carrie Bloomert and Commissioner Brian Mon, and of course, Mayor Holt and all of you. Can we give them a round of applause? They put up with me and I appreciate it, and I thank you so much for everything you've done. And now comes for the fun part. We cannot do this without you. So if you guys would open your hymnals, and there's this wonderful donation card that I would love for you to fill out for us. We do not take Groupons, but we will take the QR code that will lead you right to our donation site. We'll take cash, check, whatever you have. We just appreciate you guys to help us continue to help our friends in Northeast Oklahoma City and to go beyond that. But we'd love to have your help, and we'd really appreciate it. Also, the lovely arrangements on your table for a $20 donation. You can take that home to the wife or someone special. And we've also got Chan Hellman's book, Hope Rising, back at the back for a $25 donation. So thank you all for what you're doing. We really appreciate it. Now, I'd also like to let you know we have some very special people here. Please mark your calendars. Another event we're doing on November 4th is our Lynn Charity and Table Auction. Now that's charity as in chair. You probably saw it when you walked in. We have local artists that paint those, and then we auction those off. And it was a great event last year, and we hope you'll be a part of it this year. Janetta Smith and Patricia Triplett, are you guys here? They are with the North Park Gallery at North Park Mall. Thank you for making that happen. So we hope you guys will join us with that. And again, we appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it back to the lovely Miss Jane.
Steve Petty, thank you so much. I've been known to make a few mistakes here and there, that's for sure. But oh, wow, that's so impressive, that video, and to see all the people working together and all these partnerships and collaborations, all moving our community forward. It's just wonderful. Well, I have a real special treat for you now. I think you're really going to be inspired. I want to tell you about Dr. Chan Hellman. He's a nationally recognized researcher, author, and speaker. He's also a professor of social work at the Anne and Henry Zarrow School of Social Work, and he's the founding director of the Hope Research Center at the University of Oklahoma. Chan has written numerous scientific publications and presented at national and international conferences. Dr. Hellman's research is focused on the science of hope as a psychological strength. I want to say that again, because the science of hope as a psychological strength is a concept most of us did not grow up with. That research is propelling the integration of the science of hope across Oklahoma, across our nation, and internationally. He's a lifelong Oklahoman, Dr. Hellman, and he knows firsthand how one person sharing hope can change the trajectory of a life. He's here to share his personal journey of hope with us today. So please welcome Dr. Chan Hellman. We're so glad to have you here. Are we on? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you. We're so delighted that you're here. Now,
thank you. It's an honor.
I've read your book, and I have notes here that you co-wrote it with Casey Gwynn. And so I know a little bit about what your family life was like, Chad. And you grew up with parents who got married very early. They were what's kind of known as hippies. We know what hippies are like, right? They were engaged in the drug culture. Your father grew marijuana. He was a drug dealer, often taking you along with him. You describe in the book that fear was a constant companion for you, fear and anxiety. Tell us more about that. Where did that come from?
Sure. So first of all, the parents being flower children and hippie, which is where the name Chan comes from, by the way. And the Chinese dialect Chan Buddhism, Chan stands for Zen. So when I asked my mom why Chan, because when you're emerging into adolescence, being different sometimes is not good. And so I asked her, why Chan, you know? And the alternative was sunshine. So I do want to clarify that I'm pretty happy with the name Chan. I think that works pretty well for me. So I say that for a couple reasons because, you know, while there was a lot of adversity that I would not wish on anyone, there were good times. There were times where there was happiness and, you know, family. So I do want to make sure that I do put that out there. The fear and the anxiety really emerged. You know, I started being involved in the drug dealings at about the age of 5. And for me, a lot of that was I got to spend time with my father, which, you know, I sort of looked forward to. But pretty soon you learn that that's not normal, you know, that's not, and then you learn that it's illegal. And the fear and the anxiety was going to bed every night, trying to prepare yourself for the idea that the sheriff's department's probably going to kick down your door, that a drug deal can go bad, and just not sure about your safety or the safety of your family. So that was a nightly occurrence for me.
Wow. Well, that would be a tough environment to grow up in. So that went on for a good many years. And then around the 7th grade, your father left. Your parents divorced. Now, you were living in western Oklahoma, a small town, very small town. Your mother got a job in Tulsa, western Oklahoma, not close. And after a while, she just stopped coming home.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really the transition into homelessness for me. So for a while, the home was there. There was no electricity, and and while right now we can imagine how hot it gets in western Oklahoma, in the dead of winter, when you have no electricity and you're still trying to figure out ways to take a bath or in that ice cold water. So that was, and then. Do you all remember the Coca-Cola bottles that you could sell back for 5 cents? Or was it 5 cents maybe? Or maybe that was the good days when you could get 5 cents for them. So oftentimes I would go around town and find those in my neighbors' places. And I would sell those, and that's how I would eat frozen pizzas and things like that.
Were you there? Did you have a sibling?
My sister was 11 months older than I am, and we both just sort of went our own way. Okay. When all of that happened, and she had some friends that she was able to move in with, and whereas I spent more time homeless, oftentimes sleeping on top of the school, because I knew that was a very safe place for me. Yeah.
Okay, I grew up in a small town, and everybody kind of knows what's going on in a small town. The teachers kind of know the kids and know what happens. How did adults not know what was going on with you? Mm-hmm. You're by yourself, you're selling Coke bottles to buy frozen pizza and things. Yeah. Chan, really?
Yeah, so I think I did a really good job of keeping most of it hidden. And in some cases when we experience extreme adversity, a lot of what we're learning and we know about the adverse childhood experiences, for instance, and the Potts family is obviously doing an amazing job of helping us understand those kinds of things. Some engage in acting out, very angry. I really became sort of the class clown and was always happy and making sure that everybody and so everything's fine.
Wow. Wow. Well, that had to change for you at some point. You mentioned that there are two pivotal moments in those growing up years that affected your life, and one of them was with a small experience by our standards, but it was a pivotal moment, and it was a conversation with your coach.
Yeah, so this coach, this science teacher, so when I actually transitioned away from the home without electricity and all of that, it was just, as you can imagine, it was just a really dark time for me to be, 7th, 8th grade, to, dad is gone, you're alone, and, it does get, the despair really emerged for me, and it was to the point where, so I set a date, and I had a plan, and I had a strategy by which to escape the pain. And during that time, anyway, I was in the gym, and I was just sitting in the bleachers, and this teacher, this coach, came up. He knew something was happening. He didn't know exactly what was happening. And he came up and he sat down beside me, and I won't do it to you, Miss Jane, but he came up and he sat down right beside me, and he just sort of leaned into me, and just stayed there. And it was, I would say a full 3 minutes. I mean, it was a long time. And he just leaned over finally at the end and he said, "Chan, you're going to be okay." I mean, he knew something was happening. He didn't know what. And so, anyway, when the date, which was that next day, when that came, and I'm not sure it's something I want to say with everybody eating lunch, but I had the shotgun under my chin and was ready to do that. And that just kept coming back. "Chan, you're going to be okay. Chan, you're going to be okay." And that was the pivotal moment that I decided this is not who I am. And for me, it was that moment that I really, and if you've seen my presentations, I always end on a slide that, at the heart of change is our ability to understand the way things are right now, but that we can begin to imagine the way things could be. And that was the moment for me, that I started to imagine that it didn't have to be like this. And that's the reason I'm alive today.
Wow. That says so much to each of us about the impact we can have.
As for anybody, but certainly as a 7th grader, 8th grader, just that moment where just impulsively, it could have gone very differently. And it would have been so sudden, obviously. But I do, allow me just a moment to, about 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit with that teacher. So I went back home and the school was having a basketball game, so I decided, I'll just go. And there he was, retired for many years, but he was still taking dollars and letting people in, and still, this is who he was, And so anyway, instead of going in the game, I just hopped up beside him and sat there and just carried on, what are you doing, what's going on? And, I'm a professor at the University of Oklahoma, and, all these kind of wonderful things. And then towards the end, I knew the games were ending and it was going to end. So I scooted over to him and I put my shoulder into him. And here was his reaction. It's like, what are you doing? And so, I'm doing that. And I just leaned over to him. And I tried to be very, very similar. And I just said, you're the reason I'm alive today, And he kind of looked at me, and so I told him the story. And this is what I love about this story, is he looked at me and he said, "I did what?" And in all this hope work, that stays with me. And the reason that stays with me is because imagine the impact we could have if we did that with intention. That's just who he was. "Chan, you're going to be okay." But if we were intentional in those 5-minute little moments of time that we have with each other, you just don't know the change and the impact that it has. Hope is a social gift. Hope is something that we share with each other. And we need to be a little more intentional about that, myself included.
What really blows me away about that is that he didn't have any training. He didn't make any big speech or know the right words to say. And so often we hesitate because we don't know for sure what should we say, what would be helpful. All he did was lean in, and he was sensitive to your needs. He'd paid attention to who you are and what might be going on with you, as teachers often do.
Right. Yeah, I think, and that is very influential. Actually, if you look at all of our, nobody reads our scientific publications, so I won't even go there. We publish dreaming of the day that somebody will read that article, But if you, take my word for it. All of my,
We will.
all of those publications that I have on trauma, and hope are all very personal experiences, all very specific. You know, why is it that I had that experience? And I have the absolute honor to be on stage with Jane Giroux.
Oh. Oh, dear.
What a blessing, right? That has been in my life. These people who have wrapped around me, these little 5-minute, non-therapeutic, driven, very therapeutic in terms of reception, but yeah, those are the powerful moments. And so everything we're trying to do with Hope, the relationship with the Lynn Institute, and trying to get this message out and these strategies, is we want to equip teachers, we want to equip neighbors with coaches, with our youth ministers, with our coaches, these simple strategies that are game changers, absolute game changers for children and families who are struggling. So that's my goal, is how do I replicate what that teacher did with intention?
Well, I'm sure there are people here today, given today's environment and what we've been through in the last year, who are also in need of a word of hope and the science of hope. And if we're feeling hopeless with the environment that's going on in our world, not just Oklahoma, but in the world today, what can you say to us about how to help each other as well as be hopeful ourselves?
Well, I think first and foremost, the statement that I made earlier, that hope is a social gift, is a critical thing. To be connected to each other and to stay connected when others are struggling. The fact that the teacher just leaned in and touched me, communicated, I understand this now, I didn't at the moment, but what he communicated to me is that I mattered, right? That I mattered, and that hope is a social gift. So first of all, just making sure that we're very intentional in being connected. And then probably the most important in terms of the how-to is another simple statement, and just recognizing this simple idea that hope begets hope, this idea that hope begets hope, that if I can start with a very short, small, simple goal of what I want to achieve or pursue today, or maybe this week, and that I can begin to identify the pathways and strategies, that as I begin to experience that success, I can see that the future is possible and that I have the power to make it so. And that's the sort of the essence of the work.
Well, thank you for the gift that you've given us today. We could go on forever, but this is wonderful. Thank you so much, Chan.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
I would have liked to have continued that conversation for a long time, but we have some important work to do. So I want to tell you about the Lynn Legacy Award, what it stands for, what it includes. It honors individuals and organizations who are visionary leaders committed to creating and sustaining health, hopeful communities, devoted to those in great need, generous with time and resources, collaborative in spirit, and dedicated to leaving a legacy that will outlast their lifetime. We have distinguished guests with us today, past Legacy Award recipients, and I'm going to ask them to join me on stage to introduce our 2021 Legacy Award honorees. So if you will all come to stage as I call your names. 2019 Legacy Award recipient and CEO of Care Providers of Oklahoma, Mr. Stephen Buck. 2020 Legacy Award recipient and Executive Director of Hope United, Mr. Lee Rowland. 2019 Legacy Award recipient and Small Business Advisor with the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center, Mr. Greg Jones, and 2020 Legacy Award recipient and Vice Chairman of Keller Williams International, Mrs. Mo Anderson. Let's applaud all of these incredible people. Mr. Steve Buck, will you introduce our first Legacy Award recipient?
It is my extraordinary honor today to introduce to you somebody who candidly needs no introduction in this crowd, and that's Mayor David Holt. The mayor has quite an accomplished biography. I'll just highlight a couple of those. Served on congressional staff, served in the White House, served as chief of staff for Oklahoma City Mayor Mick Cornett, served in the Oklahoma State Senate, and then was elected to be mayor of the city of Oklahoma City. In doing introductions, one of the things that we were challenged to do by Janine was to talk about how this individual who we're recognizing contributes to legacy. And I will share with you that I think I have a pretty unique insight into David and his leadership from the fact that his wife, Rachel, is one of my closest professional colleagues. And during our service together, I got to see behind the scenes that plays out in elected politics. I got to see David Holt, the conscientious leader who dreamed of an Oklahoma City where every single person had the opportunity to find success and for them to achieve the maximum potential. It's easy as a listener of the rhetoric to get jaded by what politics is, but at the core of this individual is a passion for each and every person who calls Oklahoma City home to succeed and find success. When I think about the legacy, whenever, and I need to tell you, Mayor Holt, when I received this, 4 months later, I had moved on. So I hope this isn't some tradition with you having an election on the horizon. But when we think about the Mayor Holt legacy, I think we will find a champion for every citizen of Oklahoma City to find value, success, and achievement, and happiness, and hope. David Holt.
Look, if I still want to be in this job in 4 months, I got to make sure the Friday paper gets a good picture of this. So we're going to take all day on that if we have to. Thank you, Steve, so very much. It was very, very kind words. And it's an honor to receive this with Councilwoman Nice and Lieutenant Cubitt and Metro Tech, and to be on stage with this august group of people. And really, the great honor is to receive an award from an entity you have a lot of respect for. And I know I speak for Rachel as well. Rachel was referenced in Steve's speech. She's the executive director of the Office of Juvenile Affairs, our state agency that addresses juvenile justice. She's doing the work. And I know I speak for her as well when we express our gratitude to the Lynn Institute for what it does for our community, especially Northeast Oklahoma City, and all of its causes are certainly very near and dear to my heart. And I guess if, something that was said by Chan a moment ago and said just there by Steve sort of made me think, I guess if I could leave a legacy, all the actions and the work product and the outcomes are things that were done in concert with others, people like Councilwoman Nice and city council and city staff and so many others. And to that extent, I don't know that I leave a legacy other than being part of a pretty big team. But I hope that as an individual, I leave a legacy that reflects what Steve just said and a little bit of what Chan just said in having a vision that I will utterly fail to execute. But that's okay, because I'll get some of it done, and I will leave you and this city a little better than I found it, and I will leave you, as Chan said, with hope. And that's what a leader should provide. And it is entirely acceptable that I will say, and I will lay out a vision for you that if you really thought about it, you'll recognize I probably will fall short. We will probably fall short. But because we tried, we will get somewhere, and we will leave hope behind for the next generation to build on the work that we've done. So thank you so very much for this.
They've given me a minute and a half to say my introduction, and I'm just so glad that I didn't wear that blue and white today. That contrasts with me quite a bit. Some of y'all will get that when you get home. That's all right. Metro Tech Centers is a career and technology center district who has served the Oklahoma City metropolitan area since it was established in 1979. They offer training and career programs to high school students, adults, business, and industry, and 104 career majors, 500 short-term and online courses, as well as customized training for business and industry. For over 40 years, Metro Tech Centers has been building a strong legacy, leaving their mark on future generations through educational opportunities and strength in curriculum. Whether students are interested in aerospace technology, biomedical services, the film industry, the medical field, foreign language, computer science, or culinary arts, the incredible Career Tech Institute is preparing students for life. I love that. Metro Tech is also building a legacy through the spirit of collaboration in each of its communities they serve. Even better, they model, teach, and involve their students in partner-driven efforts, making collaboration part of their culture. Metro Tech is generous when it comes to resources. Their team unselfishly gives time, ideas, and creativity to bring nurturing and supportive support with those lives who they touch every day. They are passionate about the pursuit of excellence. In fact, Metro Tech's faculty and programs are award-winning, and they are regarded in the education arena as a standard-bearer, front-runner, and innovator. For all these reasons, and for the thousands of students who have had the opportunity for success in their career and their lives because of this revered institution, it is my honor today to present the 2021 Legacy Award to Metro Tech Centers. Would you all come and be rewarded? They also hire some of the finest people on God's earth.
All right, fantastic. Well, I am very, very excited to introduce our next Legacy Award recipient. When I saw the slate of folks that were receiving the award, I'll be honest, I asked if I could introduce all of them. But unfortunately, they saved the best for me. I'm going to say that part. Let me introduce to you a fourth-generation Oklahoman. Councilwoman Nice was born, reared, educated, and spiritually nurtured in Oklahoma City's Ward 7 district. She and I graduated from the same high school, Northeast High School, and she received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in broadcasting from the historic Langston University. Prior to her election as Ward 7 counselor, Nikki was a well-known television and radio personality with nearly 15 years of on-air experience in the Oklahoma City market, and some of you might remember Soul Factor Radio. I am a resident of Ward 7, and I can tell you that I have seen Councilwoman Nice at work in a community who needed her tenacity, her passion, her tireless pursuit of equity. In her first term, she established a task force focused on health and food access, bringing together key leaders to ensure that the communities she represents have resources available and that health screenings and services are focused on and represent the diverse population she represents. Councilwoman Nice has also been laser focused on food access to ensure not one, but 2 grocery stores will open and thriving Northeast community. The market at East Point opened this past April, while the new Homeland will be located on Lincoln Boulevard at 36th Street, opens in September. One of the things that means most to me as a Northeast resident in Ward 7 is not the fact that not only is Councilwoman driven through her elected position to make a difference, but it's also her personal commitment to effect change, create greater quality of life, and bring hope to a city and community in which her family lives and which she grew up. I took the opportunity to ask just some other community leaders, Nikki, what they thought about you, and I quote, "Nikki, you're a fearless fighter, a true champion on the front line of every battle, as well as every effort to improve our community. You are an irreplaceable East Side icon, shaped by the legendary predecessors and poised to lead. Nikki, you are a wholehearted leader, a champion in the highest sense of the word. You're unafraid to hurt with or to listen to anyone in your ward. You serve with courage as you often stand in different and polarized worlds, invitationally, graciously, and protectively. You have a genuine love and care that just oozes from your being. And one of my favorite things is her smile and those hugs. She loves her community, and it shows. While she is young, she's mighty in spirit, compassion, and building bridges to a much brighter future. Councilwoman Nice has already been part of bringing about change that will indeed be a part of her legacy. So what a wonderful and inspiring is a passion that she pursues, and I know that she'll pursue greater milestones. I am honored today to present Northeast resident counselor for Ward 7 in Oklahoma City, my friend Nikki Nice, to the Lynn Institute 2021 Lynn Legacy Award.
Well, first of all, good afternoon to everyone. I'm speechless from the beautiful comments that have been said about me, because this work is not easy. This work is hard. This work is tiring. This work is draining, but this work is hopeful, because we know what our communities can become. I didn't plan on being a public servant, but apparently someone else did. And I am grateful to serve alongside Mayor Holt and our other council members, because we understand and know what our city can become. We've been a part of it all of our lives. And to be a part of Ward 7 and to understand and know the things that have taken place, the things that have left, the things that are coming back, it takes a village to do those things. And I stand up on the shoulders of all of the folks that came before me that have served in this capacity, because I couldn't have done it had they not taken that baton a little further for me to get it to the finish line. So I'm grateful for all of them that came before me. And today is a very special day because it is the day we commemorate the Catch Drug Store sit-in 63 years ago. So I say that because I stand on the shoulders of Miss Clara Looper, because had it not been for her, those young people, and the things that they did tirelessly, there would not be a Ward 7. There would not be a Councilwoman Nikki Nice. So I'm grateful for the fighters and my ancestors that fought to get me to this place. So it is our duty, our village, to make sure we continue that journey and that work. So I do want to thank all of my village, and a special thank you to my mother, who is with me and always supportive of my efforts. And my favorite quote, when I studied abroad with Langston University, I read it and it carries with me all the time. And if you've heard it before, I'm sorry, you're going to hear it again. But it's from Sir Alfred Tennyson. I am a part of all that I have met. And that said something to me, just being on a whole nother continent. I said, man, I'm meeting new people and their spirits carry with me every single day. So I don't take it lightly when I meet people every day in this journey, whether those conversations are good, bad, or indifferent. I am a part of all that I have met, and I'm grateful for this journey. And I'm grateful for the Lynn Institute, because had it not been for the Lynn Institute in that 2016 study, we would not have the Healthy Neighborhood Overlay District that we put in place for the 73111 zip code to show we can do better for our communities and put policy in place to back that up. So thank you for all that you do, Lynn Institute, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of the many efforts that you have. Thank you so much.
There is one among us who is passionately dedicated to his 25-year career as a police officer. But he has a great passion for serving youth in at-risk communities. And so he did something about it. He created a program called Family Awareness and Community Teamwork, better known by the acronym FACT. F-A-C-T. Now, the program is focused on mentorship and character building. It bridges the gap between law enforcement and, of course, the youth in our inner city areas. And it actually reduces juvenile delinquency, earning this guy the title of Master Mentor. He says, we have to serve the kids until the phone call is over. Well, that means they play a football game, you go, and you celebrate with them. And should they go to prison, God forbid, it means writing letters and taking phone calls. And so in mentoring, on and on it goes. But he and his wife, Cree, through the years, have had 4 biological children, 8 foster children, and several children waiting to be adopted. And they are changing the world, not only with FACT, but also with their wonderful, wonderful Sunday dinners once a month for the large extended family of over 65 members. You want to serve lunch for 65? Go to Waylon's house. So, Waylon, what an amazing, amazing legacy that you and Cree are creating. Your kind words, your happy, glorious spirit, and that great big heart of yours makes me absolutely love you like a real brother. And Cree, you're my sister. We even look alike. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my dear, dear friend and our beloved police officer, Waylon Cubitt. Love you.
Where you going, sis? Get over here.
I forgot. I get my picture with you.
Thank you so much. Mo, so giving honor to God, my Savior, couldn't do any of this without him. And my wife, who is always saying yes when I should be saying no, she says, go ahead, and I get to do it. But Mo, when you talk about my family and my large once-a-month family dinner of 65 people, I said, Mo, I just want you to come and speak to my family. This is off script, by the way. I wasn't talking about this. I said, Mo, would you come to my house and just kind of share some of your wisdom with the kids? Because she's an avid reader. She wrote a book and all that kind of stuff. And Mo said, you'd have this little white woman come and talk? I said, yes, please do. And we took a break, and she came back, and she said, let's do better. Why don't you all come to my house? And so I said, it's not just 4 or 5 people, Mo. It's a big family dinner. She says, it doesn't matter. I'll send limousines for everybody. My 93-year-old mother had her own Mercedes Sprint van. And we all went up to Mo's house, where there's a big sign with the Cubitt clan, and we spent the day at Mo's house with a lifeguard. And I mean, I can just go on and on and on about how she spoiled us. And I thought when we came around the corner to her really, really small Walmart, she was where she lives, a small Walmart. And we came around the corner, and we're going into this, and there's construction cones there. And I said to my wife, and I said, see, even they have construction problems. It wasn't a construction problem. That was just cones leading her to our house. So anyway, thank you so much, Mo, for being a sister to me. Thank you so much for this honor. I got to tell you, this honor is not possible without the Oklahoma City Police Department. The Oklahoma City Police Department believes in what we do, and they stand behind everything we do in this really small way. If you see, where are my fact family at? Where are they? There they over here. So we know at the police department that we got to start early. We got to get to young people really, really early. And I know that you all think that those 4 or 5 officers and staff members from FACT are the ones that support you and they brought you here. That's true. But they couldn't do it without the support of our command and our police department. So shout out to the Oklahoma City Police Department and our command. I don't know exactly what specific thing I've done to deserve the honor to be with Mayor Holt and Nikki Nice and all the previous honorees. But I can tell you that I love being a part of this community and being able to use my voice, use my opportunity, use my platform to bring attention to the other, right? We always talk about our job is about the other person. It's not always about us. And so everybody loves a cop story, so I'll tell you one. So I remember being a patrolman and driving to a priority call. And on my way to this priority call, there's a stranded car that's in the way with its flashers going, and I'm like, get out of the way, I don't know what they're doing, I got this priority call to go. But as I pass by, I notice this young man that's sitting in the car, he's not doing much, he's on his phone. I'm going, he's probably trying to get help. I got to go to this priority call. I get to this priority call, and it was a false alarm, or other officers will handle it or something. And I said, well, I guess I got push bars, I'll go and push that guy out of the street. And so as I'm going back around, you can't just turn around, there's a barrier there. You can't just turn around and get behind him. but I noticed he was getting out of the car. And I thought, and he's got his chest up and he's about to start pushing his own car. And I'm like, oh, he is going to be happy when he sees me because I got push bars and I'll be able to help him get that thing out of the street. And so I go down a couple more blocks and I make the turn. And as I'm turning around to come get behind him, I noticed there were 3 other cars now stopped. And 4 men had gotten behind his car with him. He didn't need my push bars, but they were all pushing. And as they got to a part, they motioned to him to get in and drive. And I'm telling you that story is because it was that collaboration that got that man to his destination, right? And I know that we often feel in this turbulent time that sometimes the community member is that stuck driver, and sometimes it's the police department that's that stuck driver, and sometimes it's that church that's that stuck driver. But all we're looking for is somebody that's getting out with a destination that's willing to do the work themselves, and helpers come. And helpers come. So I don't know if Lynn saw me as the stuck driver or if Lynn saw or whatever, but I do know that we have been pushing for the other together, along with churches, along with other nonprofits, and we know at the FACT program at the police department that we cannot serve those kids if we don't serve their families. And so I'm going to say to you all, the rest of y'all can leave right now. I'm going to talk to the FACT family. Just like Chan Hillman just said, the police department is using us, the people at your table, the adults that brought you here today, to lean into you right now and say, you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. We're leaning into you every single day because we know that whatever you need, the police department is using us as the instrument to serve you. Your job is to get behind when you see somebody else stuck, is to serve them. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm just thrilled to be here today. How about you? Haven't we enjoyed this? It's not over yet, but I just had to say that. Coming up now is the Lynn Community Champion Award is presented to individuals or organizations who with determination and steadfast commitment use their voice, influence, actions, resources, and compassion to make an extraordinary difference in communities. Mayor Holt, would you share your thoughts on our first Community Champion Award recipient? And you're right here. Thank you.
Well, it is even more of an honor than receiving an award. It is an even greater honor to give this award to my friend, Dr. Patrick McGough. Dr. Mac, as some call him. He and I never really got off on that foot. I never really have called you that, but, but I wanted to acknowledge it. You might know him that way. You know, since like the Eisenhower administration, there's a member of the military that walks behind the president with the nuclear codes, right? Carries the football. We've all seen movies. We're very familiar with this concept. But for 70 years, blessedly, this person has been entirely superfluous. He has never been called upon, he or she has never been called upon to produce those nuclear codes. Well, I kind of feel like that's a metaphor that resonates with me when I think about a public health director dealing with a once-in-a-century global pandemic. Patrick, Dr. McGough, took his position in 2019 as executive director of the Oklahoma City County Health Department. Walked into his beautiful new office, great view of Remington Park and the downtown skyline. Walked in with his football, a metaphorical football, a football that represented an accumulation of knowledge and preparation that every public health official has secured over their career to prepare for a global pandemic. And like the dozens of predecessors he had, he took that football and he put it in the closet. And he sat down at his desk and started trying to get people to stop smoking or stop eating fatty foods and to get vaccinated and all the things that most people do when they become the executive director of the Oklahoma City County Health Department. You know what happened next. He became the first public health director in Oklahoma City since 1918 to have to confront a global pandemic, and he had to pull that football out, and he had to use those codes. And I know he'll come up here probably and say that he's got a big team around him, and he does, and I'm grateful for them as well. But his leadership uniquely has been critical in this endeavor. And our numbers justify, I mean, we wish we could save every person. We haven't done that, but we definitely have done better than others. And it's because we did things correctly, at his direction, at the right time. And I just can't say enough about his personal sacrifice through this endeavor, his work ethic, his dedication, his even keel. If there's really something that maybe you don't fully appreciate from the outside looking in, it is that public health in the United States is a unique challenge. This is a free country. That means something when people say that. It's a trite phrase, but it actually it's a good description of sort of the foundation of this country. And it makes public health difficult because you've got the biggest component of your task is convincing people to do the right thing for their health, persuading people. If he could just tell people what to do, he would have closed all the McDonald's a long time ago. He can't do that. He and public health professionals and people who work with them like myself, we've got to figure out the right way and the right time and what to ask you. Because ultimately, we can't probably make you do what you should do for your own personal health, and in this case, for the community's health. So I just want you to understand how critical it has been to work with somebody who gets that, who is pragmatic, and is outcome-based. You know, in his role, it'd be real easy to just be right all the time and feel real good about yourself. And there's many moments in this pandemic where we just want to be right. But if that doesn't reach the better health outcome for the community, then maybe there's another way to go about it. And it may not be the way that's as emotionally satisfying for us, but it gets us to the better outcome. And he always understands that, and that has made him such an amazing partner for me, but more importantly, such an amazing caretaker for the 1.4 million people in the Oklahoma City metro. We could not be better served in this incredible experience that we have all shared than to have Dr. Patrick McGough guiding us. Please welcome him to the stage, and congratulations on your award.
Do I take this? Oh, we're going to take a picture? All right. Okay, thank you. I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate Mayor Holt, and I'm very humbled by that introduction. And I know that probably only Rachel, his wife, is aware of how many times we talk extremely late at night or early in the morning or text back and forth throughout this pandemic. And so I'm sorry, Rachel. But I appreciate you. I appreciate so much Mayor Holt, and there's a number of other people that I want to talk about in just a moment. But I want to say thank you, especially to Lynn Institute, Karen Waddell, the leadership and the board of Lynn Institute. Today has been an amazing and incredibly moving and motivational day for me as I've heard about hope for our community. I hear our leaders talking about others, and that's key with me. I hear us talking about reaching out and letting people know that they matter. And also I heard today, while I'm listening to all this, that words matter. Words like hope and words like you matter. All of that means something. And so I appreciate leadership and this community and people coming together. Thank you very much for all of that. And I want to just take a couple of moments to say thank you again to Mayor Holt. I mean, we get stuff like this sent to the office, and other people take care of that for me, and I didn't know until I sat down at the table today that he was going to present this award to me. Had I known that, I don't know, I may have prepared something to say. Because it's terribly embarrassing to be so appreciative of an individual that looms so much taller than you every time you're on a television interview or program or something like that. And every time there's a gathering like this and you stand on a stage, and I have to look up to him. But I truly do look up to him in every regard. He is an amazing, amazing mayor for which I will forever be grateful. I want to speak I can't do this without talking about masking, but more importantly than masking is getting a vaccine. So please know that if you want someone to protect their life, save their life, or the life of a loved one, it's about talking with them, someone that will listen to you. Don't go preaching to people that don't want to hear what you have to say, but reach out to your own people, whoever they are, your religious group, your family, your work group, someone that you can actually reach. Reach out to them and talk to them about the value of getting a vaccine. You know, it's not just good for the economy. It will help you live. If you're hospitalized and you've been vaccinated, you're far less likely to die. And also, if you just get sick with COVID, you're far less likely to actually have to be hospitalized. A lot of people that have been vaccinated, they're sick maybe like 3 days. Many of them don't even know that they have COVID. The vaccine is what we need to be focused on. Get your loved ones to get vaccinated. I will tell you, my group knows I'm a big crybaby. My dad was a gentleman about as tall as Mayor Holt and much broader and heavier. And he cried at the drop of a hat, but he was a man's man. I mean, he was really, really a gentle giant, so to speak. But he was not afraid to show his emotions. And I know many times with my executive team throughout this process, I could not have made it without Phil Maytubby and without Blaine Bolding. And Phil is my COO, and Blaine Bolding is our Chief of Public Health Protection. And they have been with me from the beginning of this. So part of my award goes to them. And then my wife and my daughter, who are here with me today, I mean, they've lived this nightmare with me. And so I also have a board member represented here, and that's Dean Emeritus Dr. Lois Salmeron. And I had the pleasure of graduating from OCU, and my daughter did as well with our doctoral degrees in nursing practice, and I would advise that for everyone. But I want, just because I think it'd help you to realize it's important to get a vaccine and to wear a mask if you want to. I do recommend fully that everyone wear a mask. That's the CDC guidelines. We know, as Mayor Holt commented on, if I wanted to, I would shut down everything that was unhealthy for you. I would want everyone masked all the time. I mean, if we could close all the doors to everything. But that's not reality. That's not going to happen. I don't have any power unless City Council or the mayor or my board gives it to me. I have none. So I just make recommendations all day long. I do want to tell you, I appreciate all of our elected officials in this room. Congratulations to Councilor Nice. So appreciate you. And in every way, I mean, about equity, mostly, as much as the pandemic, I have enjoyed hearing and learning from her and watching her from a distance on what we need to do as equity, diversity, and inclusion in our city. And I am so appreciative for that. And I know I also have Commissioner Bloomert here, Commissioner Mon, and I haven't seen any of the other elected officials that control my life, but there's probably some in here. I appreciate all of you, and I am truly honored, and I thank you. I can't put in the plug enough, because I was going to tell you why I cry all the time. So I started this job. My wife and I had chosen to buy a new home before I got this position, so we were in the middle of moving. Then my father dies. Then the pandemic hits, and then my wife's sister dies, then my mom dies. None of those people died of COVID. And this morning, my brother was admitted to the hospital with COVID, and he is chronically ill with a number of diseases. He's younger than me. His wife and his children all have COVID. And it is a bleak story for him. And so that's why it's so important to me today. I want to say, I want you to get everyone you know vaccinated in honor of my brother, if you would do that for me today. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Councilwoman Nice, would you introduce our next Community Champion Award recipient?
Well, I won't be as long as our mayor with our introduction, because they told me a minute. But it takes longer than a minute to express our thanks and gratitude. of these willing folks to be a part of our community and serve in the way that they do. So I have the honor and the privilege to present this award to Restore OKC. And when I was elected in November of 2018, one of my first zoning requests was for Restore OKC, for them to provide their community farms. And that's one of the things I was just most excited about, the potential of what this area could shape to be for our community. So throughout that time, I have watched it grow. I have watched them add more to the area. I've seen chickens. I've seen how they bring the fruits and vegetables. I've seen now how they have Girl Scouts that meet there and other things that we've been able to bring to the table. So when we brought the Northeast Task Force together, they were right at the table with us to make sure anything we needed, they were willing to help and willing to serve, and making sure that the community and their neighbors were at the table. They were the ones who said, this is how we should lead. They let them lead. They let community lead, and they followed behind and provided those resources. So when we had a store that closed in our community, they stepped up to the plate. The day that we had transportation and offered buses, they showed up with tents and they showed up with water and said, what else do you need? That's community. When they said, Nikki, we are thinking about this idea. Our young people, our interns want to create a community market. I said, absolutely, let's figure out how to make this a process and bring it into realization. And we did it in less than 6 months. So they committed to bring a store to our community, and they kept that promise. They kept the promise in a time where we already knew and were waiting for other things to happen and occur. So we're grateful to Restore OKC for their willingness and intentional aspects of their work to provide space for community. So if you have not been to the East Point Market, please, today when you leave here, it's right up the street. We want you to go by and say hello. And one of the two things I'll say before they come is, after we open those doors, I've heard from many residents, a couple say, this is the first place on the east side I've ever been able to get Bluebell ice cream. Who knew? Bluebell ice cream, a luxury in Northeast Oklahoma City because we couldn't get it before now, and it's at the community market. Another, I read a conversation of a gentleman said him and another lady were just giddy because they were getting fresh herbs, cilantro, in Northeast Oklahoma City. This is the commitment of Restore OKC and the community market at East Point. So I present to you the community market at East Point. Thank you so much, and please come get your award.
Well, it is a total honor to be standing up here. We also didn't entirely know we had opportunity to speak, so there are countless of you that I should thank, and I had forgotten entirely. Nikki, thanks for bringing that back. The comedy of coming in and trying to convince the city of Oklahoma City that you should be able to rezone as an urban farm, and then determining how many chickens and goats that should mean you're allowed to have in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's one of my favorite conversations to date, and one of many reasons working with Nikki and Carrie and city and county and so many of you has just been such an honor. What an incredible community we belong to, that we get to dream and watch those things come to fruition. None of that would have happened without many of you sitting in this room, but it certainly wouldn't have happened without our interns, one of whom sadly can't stand with us because she broke her leg, came straight from polishing chicken eggs to here. Miss Shylin, if you'd wave so we can honor you. And just so many incredible young people who run this 5-acre urban farm, and truly who, when we had the idea of, we'll show up with tents and water, what else do you need? I guarantee you, I was not thinking, let's start a grocery store. That wasn't on the radar. But, you know, really the seed to shelf dream, how would we get behind the future, the next generation of our community? These guys are pretty incredible at just leading with vision. So we're proud to stand with all of our high school interns. Thank you for leading and pushing us all. And one of my favorite quotes from that morning, and I see Sarah Roberts and so many people contributed to this incredible opening day at the market. And there was a beautiful moment that somebody asked what this means so much. And one of our directors started sharing about this being in a food desert, and I believe it was one of you standing here who corrected her on the news media and said, former food desert. Former food desert. So what a special thing, yeah, to have been a part of, and so we're grateful beyond belief for many of you.
In prosperity, you know your associates. In adversity, you know your friends. And as Councilwoman Nice alluded to, 2 years ago this month, the last full-service grocery store closed down, and that was an adverse situation that was enhanced. And so with the many faces that are in this room right now, we all laid our gifts at the feet of each other for the betterment of that community. And so we just want to say thank you. Thank you. And for those who have peeked their head in the store, thank you. For those who have come in and purchased, thank you. For those who have not come in, there are smiling faces that are waiting for you to come in. Thank you.
Thank you all. We've kept you guys, and thank you so very much. I want to thank Ms. Jane Jarrell Gamble for being here and making this such a nice event. To Dr. Hellman, especially all of our contributors, all of you, but I thank you for helping us. And again, if you would consider donating so we can continue this. I want to thank all the churches, all the partners, Homeland Restore, all of the folks that are out there helping us. On a personal note, I took over as CEO of this institution November 1st. Thank you to the board for allowing me to do what I love to do, and thank you all and my team. If you would all stand real quickly, if you could, just my team for making this happen. Our team, excuse me, but our supportive board and the funders and all of you, we could not do this. So thank you for letting us do what we love. And thank you, Northeast Oklahoma City, for letting us walk beside you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.